Now I've finally been able to play Ashes of the Dam, the launch map for Black Ops 7 Zombies at COD Next. This video is going to dive into my honest first thoughts after playing Ashes of the Dam, going over both the good and the bad, and I won't be holding back. I will be going over everything I liked and everything I didn't like, so that feedback can be taken on board to hopefully make the map as good as it can be for the full launch of the game in November. Now it goes without saying, but we played an early version of the map where half of the map was actually locked off, which is really interesting, so I didn't get to see all of it, and so my opinions won't be completely reflective of the full map experience, and it goes without saying, but there were Easter eggs disabled, and we had a 30-minute time limit, which was for better or for worse, and it ended the game with a automatic exfil, which was really cool. So let's first start off by talking about the good, because there is a lot of good from what I played, and firstly, and I think it's the most obvious, is that the visuals of this map, the aesthetic, are absolutely amazing. So far and beyond anything that we've gotten so far in Black Ops 6 Zombies, potentially even in the modern era of Zombies. This is just leagues above anything that we've had before in terms of the aesthetic, the vibes, the mood. It clearly looks and feels like Zombies again, which not every map in Black Ops 6 gave that impression. We're definitely nowhere in the facility map area anymore. We are in this massive open space where every POI was very unique. And I especially loved the Ashwood area of the map. So that is the middle of the map, the sort of western town. I just thought that this was very, very well done. It was a very good area with a lot of open space at the bottom, but then you have the zip lines that took you up to the higher ground where you had access to several perks as well as the mystery box, and I love the tight confined spaces of that. But throughout all of these areas, it genuinely feels like Treyarch has looked at every single corner, detail, and minute texture to make sure that every part of the map looks very pretty. Everything is just so detailed that it really feels like an area that has been lived in, that has a lot of history, and actually feels like care and attention was put when creating these spaces. They were absolutely beautiful. Now, that isn't to say that every single area of the map was a joy to play or a joy to look at. I think maybe the Janus Towers Plaza, whilst it's a very cool way to start the map, I felt like this was just probably the weakest part of the map for me. As beyond having that aesthetic from the Reckoning and that sort of familiarization, all this area is just to get the Wonder Vehicle and get Ted's head from a safe house room. Aside from that, in Quick Revive, there is real no purpose to this area, and it's really probably the most forgetful part of the map. But the other areas of the map were absolutely gorgeous. I particularly liked Ashwood, like I said, Blackwater Lake. I thought that was very open, lots of play space there, and with the big floating pyramid at the back as well, it's just such an awesome aesthetic. I really, really like the map. And hopefully from the gameplay that you've seen, you also feel similar, because it just looks very, very visually pleasing. A very small and very minor thing, which I'm sure most people didn't notice, is that you actually got extra points for melee weapons if you aimed for the head when you meleeed, which actually makes melee weapons a lot more viable in the earlier rounds, and actually, you know, gives you a little bit of that old school Zombies feeling, even if you're playing in regular mode, where melee is actually a bit more viable, more useful, and that's something which obviously is going to benefit the players in the long run because you get more points from it, and I really like that. I also like that every single POI had a very unique way in which the power was activated. It all followed the same theme, where there is this sort of machine that has a bunch of spores on it, a bit like Modern Warfare Zombies. We had to destroy the spores in a certain amount of time, where you then had the ability to then activate a power switch, and they were different in every area, which I was not expecting. I was expecting everywhere to have the OG power switch, which some places do. Then others you have sort of switch boxes, which were something I've never seen before in Treyarch Zombies, and was quite cool to see. I also really enjoyed the special rounds with the Ravagers. I thought that they were really cool. I love that the map went to this really demonic red color, and then you had this amazing music that was only specific during those rounds. So big shout out to the Treyarch Zombies sound department there. They absolutely killed it with an instrumental that could have easily been the Easter egg song, but it's just the song that's playing whilst you're going through the special round, which I think adds a bit of intensity. It adds a bit of that sort of like emergence to the gameplay there, and I thought it was really good. And there was an amazing little Easter egg once you beat in that special round, where you got the OG round change sound, which is something we've not heard since maybe Black Ops 1 or something. So that was really cool to see. And then going back to the Ravagers, of course, you have them when you're going out in between the different POIs. and they seem like a genuine threat. Like there was a few runs where they destroyed my vehicle in the first fog area before I got to another big main POI. So if you're not careful, they really can be a nightmare to your gameplay and actually add a bit of challenge. And the design of them as well is fantastic. The design, the sounds that they make as well is just very creepy and just super awesome. I was really happy to see that even though this is an early build, we had Pack-a-Punch camos in there. Every gun could be Pack-a-Punched, and what I'm really happy to see is that every Pack-a-Punch weapon did have its own unique Pack-a-Punch benefits. So we had one of the starting pistols that became like a pistol shotgun when it was upgraded, which was awesome. At one point, I even had this like launcher weapon, which was like an energy weapon, and it was just so satisfying to use. It was really cool. And I'm really happy that they have that back, because that is definitely what makes weapons feel unique and sort of sets them apart. And considering this was an early build, they didn't have to have that in, but they did, and it was really cool. The Wonder vehicle was also a lot of fun. Very cool design. I love that the Pack-a-Punch is on the back of it so that you always have that with you at all times. I thought that was really cool. And there were some mechanics that I was happy to see them add to make it a bit more friendly to people that aren't necessarily used to using this in a zombies map. Like, it's kind of alien to see it in round-based zombies full stop, but to see areas where you can use the main section of Ashwood to teleport directly back to the Wonder vehicle, I think it's cool. There's also certain areas where you can actually call the Wonder vehicle to come back. I understood what Treyarch meant now when they say it really is a fifth member of your squad, because you really are going to be relying on it. But I'm also really happy that there was extra traversal where we had these jump pads, a bit like Firebase Z and Horizon Drac, to shoot you across, where you can choose where you want to go. And it's really, really cool to see just that aerial view of you zooming over the map to get to areas really quickly. So I can't say I have any real complaints about the way you move around this map. I never felt there was any difficulty in trying to get somewhere. It all felt like I had a lot of options, and it was really good fun. I also thought the announcer voice in BO7 Zombies was fantastic. Obviously, we've had the Forsaken for a very long time, so at first it was a bit weird to hear something different, but I think this voice sounds fantastic. And how have I not gone onto the zombie bear yet? I absolutely love the zombie bear, and what I loved about it so much was that it felt for the first time in years there was a special enemy that was actually frightening, but in the best way possible. Like, I was genuinely scared when this thing spawned in, because unlike other special enemies that we've gotten in recent years, this one actually felt like a genuine threat where my life was on the line. Like, it felt genuinely scary, and I think that's what they're going for, to give you that sort of like Origins Panzer sort of feeling here, and it really worked. And I love the way that the exfil worked in this, because it is so much better and more intense. It puts us in like a sort of bubble where there is a HVT bear that we have to take down near the actual portal to leave an exfil. In my one exfil experience, I did have the Pack-a-Punched ray gun, so it was a little bit unbalanced in my favor there, so it wasn't too difficult, but I could feel that if you were underpowered, it would be a real struggle. And then when you exfil, seeing that screen of the house from Revelations just floating above someone's hands, that's so exciting. It's intrigued me a lot. I don't know what the heck that means, but that was so exciting to see the first time round, and a big shock. And then the final thing I have here on the good, and this is actually really surprising, I didn't think I would say this, but I actually think the mini-map looked really good in this game. Like, I felt like everything that was on the mini-map, the way it looked, it just seemed very clear to see what was what and where things were. And it just seemed like a lot more of a detailed mini-map than something we've seen before in Black Ops 6. I don't know if I'm just remembering things looking different, but to me, the mini-map looked genuinely very good. But okay, that's enough for the good. I genuinely really enjoyed what I played, and I think there is a lot to like here, but I didn't think it was perfect. And my first complaint is that despite the map being very big, because it was locked off and there was maybe 2 to 3 more POIs that we didn't get to see, it made the map feel a little bit small. I don't know if that was the sort of idea that you got from the early gameplay that you got to see, but a lot of the time, people just stuck to like 1 or 2 of the same POIs, like Ashwood or the farm. They didn't really venture out into anywhere else for long periods of time, and some of the POIs felt big enough that you could have a lot of fun and sort of switch things up. but then some of the others, like Farm as an example, just felt really small and a little bit of a bland area to play. Now, I do respect that there are so many areas of this map, and again, we've not experienced all of it, so I'm sure there is still a lot more to experience, a lot more areas to play. But yeah, despite the map feeling very big from what we played and what you've seen, some of the POIs did feel a little bit small. Another thing is, despite the game being very fun to play and the gameplay being very solid, at the end of the day, the game felt very much like Black Ops 6, and it really didn't feel like a different game in a lot of ways. We have the same loadout system, which hasn't changed whatsoever. We've got pretty much the same perk setup, but we've got the exact same arsenal machines. We've got the same buildable benches. I feel like there is a lot that they're doing right here to make this game feel different to BO6, but I feel like there is still a little bit more work to be done. As an example, the crafting table and the arsenal machine, I feel that they could get some sort of visual change at least, just to match what we've seen with the ammo crate change, because visually that looks so much better, so much more appealing, like it's golden and shiny, it attracts your attention, you want to just go up to it and buy ammo. But with these, they were exactly the same with basically no change whatsoever. And in the broader term, this does feel a lot like Black Ops 6 Zombies, like more so than any other game that you could compare it to. And I guess that is the problem with this game coming just 1 year after Black Ops 6. Like, I do think that there is more that they could do to change the game to make it feel a little bit more different, a bit more unique. But if you ask me right now what that is, I'm not sure I have the answer. And it does come back to that classic argument of, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And Black Ops 6's gameplay was very solid in my opinion. I really enjoyed it. I think it was just that not every map in the game was solid for zombies. This map is definitely leagues beyond anything we've had yet so far in the last 2 years for zombies, but again, I can't help but let you know that it does feel a lot like Black Ops 6 Zombies. Now, one of the biggest issues with the game, and I see a lot of people saying the same thing, and this is just down to the HUD. Now, they have announced that there are going to be some HUD presets like BO6, and they did mention, but it was very vague, about there being some other HUD selections that were more in line with those that have played COD Zombies for a long time. But when most of the conversation about the game for the second year running is the HUD, why are we still having this conversation? Why is the HUD still such a big topic that they just can't really seem to get right? Now, what I will say is that the HUD is not bad by any means. Like, this HUD is a lot better than what we got in BO6, especially pre-release, which they then changed for the launch of the game. But I still think that there is work to be done here to make the HUD feel more like zombies. And I know that they probably designed this so that every mode has similar looking HUDs, so there's familiarity between it for people that are playing the other modes, that are coming from the other modes. But again, I just still think that there is more that they can do. Like, to me, it feels like it could be one of the easiest bits of feedback that they could take action on, especially when they've had all of this feedback from the previous year. I do respect Treyarch to continue to have the HUD options that we have in BO6 for BO7, but also being able to turn off things that people don't like the health bars and the points and other things like that. But I feel like we're just having the same conversation every year, when instead we could just get in a place where we have a great zombies HUD like we used to get back in the days of Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3, like especially having a massive image of the weapon that you're carrying right now. It just looks a bit strange. Funnily enough though, I will say that I do like the way that the Gobblegum looks. Some people might disagree and say it doesn't look cool enough. I think it actually looks a little bit better than BO6, so that's the only part of the HUD that I actually would give some praise for, that and the minimap, like I've said. But I just think now, with a month to go until the game launches, like, there needs to be something changed here. We need to have a productive conversation with the community about HUDs and actually getting a more zombified HUD, as I think that will easily add to the immersion that this map is trying to give. Now, this is quite a minor complaint, but one of the coolest details in the map is the Wonder Vehicle and having Ted in the vehicle with you whilst you're driving around. But when you're playing this solo, when you're driving around, you will always be in third person. And I know that for vehicles in Modern Warfare Zombies and Black Ops 6, you were in third person. But I feel like for this game, they really should add a first-person view camera switch, so when you're driving around, it will feel a little bit more intense, a little bit more immersive. You actually get to see the interior details, because you don't see it at all when you're playing solo. Like, I'm very confident I didn't hear Ted once. I didn't even get to see Ted unless I accidentally entered the Wander vehicle where I was in the passenger front seat instead of being in the driver's seat. I feel like just adding a first person would actually look so cool. Like, I think it would be really, really cool. I know there'll probably be some negatives to not being able to see some of the dangers on the road, like the spores, but maybe they just add a bit more of an effect where there is like a bloom from them, so you can see them when you're driving forwards towards them. Then I think that would help a lot, but I think that would be a really cool change. Now, I don't have much left in the negatives, but I have one which I think is quite an interesting one, because for a player like myself, a hardcore player, I don't necessarily have an issue with this, but I do feel like some people will just not enjoy this style of gameplay at all. People that want to jump into a brand new round-based zombies map that, you know, has sort of transit style elements, I think that they might get a little bit put off by this map. And I think part of that might be with the whole setup per game, which I think is fine, but you have to go to each POI with the vehicle. You need to go ahead and, you know, shoot the machines to get rid of the spores, and you need to buy the doors to switch on the power. And that is quite an expensive process. It's quite a lengthy process to do every game. And I feel like, unlike the maps that we got at the start of BO6, where even though Liberty Falls was very basic, pretty much survival map, Terminus, it wasn't too complicated to get in, but I feel like for some people, this will just be a little bit too much for them. And hey, maybe that is exactly why Treyarch have added survival back into this game, so that you can play survival versions of these POIs. And I think that is going to be, unfortunately, the most popular part of zombies, I think, in this mode when it launches, because it's just so accessible and so easy to just jump in and mow down the undead, which is very fun to do. And I had this feedback when I played the farm survival. I think they removed some of the score streaks in the crafting table compared to that. So there was a lot less, but again, I would love to see a few more zombified streaks, a bit more things that have a bit of a zombies makeover. Like, we've got the disciple injection, which wasn't actually in the build that we played, but it was in farm survival. But I think more emphasis on a few more zombie specific things would be really, really nice. Overall, I am very happy with what I've played so far. I genuinely think this is the best part of Black Ops 7, hands down. It's easily the most original part of BO7 as well, and I think Zombies is looking really good this year. But between now and the launch in mid-November, we've got Zombie Survival in the beta, and that will be really our playground to really see how different the game feels compared to BO6, and really sort of learn what the best weapons are, and just have a lot of fun with that core survival gameplay. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I'd really love to know what you guys think about Ashes of the Damned and BO7 from what you've seen so far. Tons more videos and coverage coming on the channel over the next few weeks, and of course when the game launches there'll be tons of videos, so make sure to stay tuned so you don't miss out on any of it. But thank you for watching. I'll catch you for another one soon.